And I'm realizing a lot of folks, their expectations is not where they should be. And it's the fault of some YouTubers that are out there and they're showing like, this is what you get for $250. And it's like, okay, yes, you can, but you need to also see the exterior. You need to look at the area, and so I find that some people are coming here from the US specifically, and they're thinking that they can get a place like this for $300. That's not happening. So, I want people to understand that if you want contemporary and you want this, moneyed immigrant lifestyle and you want a walkable neighborhood and amenities, you're going to be paying less than major US cities, but you're still going to be at least at 1,000 USD per month, at least.
Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Toddre Monier, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Before I forget, let me remind you to gently tap that subscribe button. You ain't gotta slap it, you ain't gotta hit it, just gently tap that subscribe button, because I know you do not want to see Auntie out here scraping and surviving, okay? That's not cute. And YouTube just won't let me be great if you don't hit that subscribe button. I'm currently at like 5.5 thousand subscribers. If you get me to 10K, if you get Auntie to 10K, I promise you, I will throw a party with complimentary food and drinks here in Nairobi. That's a promise. As of late, something really interesting has been happening with this podcast. A number of real estate developers, property owners and managers, as well as real estate agents, have been reaching out to me, and they've been asking me to help push their properties. And to be perfectly clear, I want to let you know, ain't nobody paid me for nothing yet. I have not gotten paid for anything yet. I did the Tattoo City just because I knew you guys wanted to see it. And I'm doing more real estate features because I know you guys want to see it. Nobody has offered to pay me just yet. However, if you decide you want to purchase a property, if you decide that you want to rent a property, that's when Auntie will get a commission. And also, to be clear, I just want to let you know that I'm not pushing nothing that I myself would not be interested in. For example, there was a property owner who had a property at the coast who reached out to me and said, hey, we would like to offer you a 3-day stay at our place in exchange for you talking about our property on your podcast and also giving us feedback, telling us what you liked, telling us what you didn't like. I said, well, who wouldn't accept that offer? Send the info, send the pictures. And essentially what I discovered is that it isn't a property that I wouldn't stay in. And so I call myself being kind and dispensing some business advice. I've owned properties in the past. I've been a short-term rental host, and I gave them some feedback on how they could spruce up their property and make it more viable. And I never heard back from them people again. I call myself being nice. So just to be clear, I'm not on here just pushing property to push it. I'm on here trying to be of service. And also let me mention, if any of the properties that I mentioned here, Tattoo City, this current one here that I'm going to mention, Royal Legend Residence, if you decide, oh, I like this, I'm going to purchase it, please mention my name, Toddre Monier, mention a podcast, BLAXIT to Africa, and also DM me because these things are pretty difficult to keep track of. Let Auntie make her coin, if you will. So this episode is going to be a bit different. I've done a pre-recorded podcast episode with a YouTuber by the name of Gideon, and he has a YouTube channel called Acre Portfolio, which has a plethora of available properties throughout Kenya. I know that a lot of you are in the global north, you're watching this and you're considering locating to Kenya. Some of you are already in Kenya and you're following a lot of YouTubers that are not from Kenya. I'd like to encourage you to follow YouTubers who are based in Kenya. They know. Gideon is in the know. And so I reached out to him to do a collab and he was like, bet, let's do it at this property called Royal Legend Residence. So they gave me a tour of the property. We filmed an episode there and we talked about real estate in Nairobi specifically. The reason why I wanted to do this is because we need to set some realistic expectations. I've seen the episodes. Let me just grab a sip of tea. I've seen the episodes where people are saying, this is what you can get in Nairobi for $250. This is a luxury apartment for, $1,500. And I have to be honest with you, I've visited some of these properties because the owners have asked me to help push their properties. I've seen the apartments for $250. I know people that live in said properties. And I have to be honest with you, it's really a matter of personal taste, and based on the people that have reached out to me to ask me to help them find housing, people who have booked my BLAXIT consultations, these properties are not up to their standards. They're not up to my standards. And for most people who live in cities, the properties for $250 per month, they may not be up to your standards. I'm just being real. So I sat down with Gideon and we discussed real estate in Nairobi. And the primary reason is to set realistic expectations so that if you book a session with me, whether it's viewing real estate in Nairobi for half a day, or you ask me to suss out real estate for you in Nairobi prior to your arrival, your expectations will be at a realistic level. I don't want to give too much away, so let's just get into this conversation with Gideon.
My name is Gideon. I'm a real estate agent, and today I'm really excited because we have a beautiful lady we're going to have an interview with today. I'm going to let her tell us her name and introduce herself. So,
I'm Toddre Monier.
Yes.
And I'm a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya.
Wow. So, guys,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And she looks, I actually wearing our brand colors, orange. They really look very
thank you. This was made in Nairobi.
Oh.
Yes. Shonaji is my tailor. I went to Nigeria last year for a wedding.
All right.
And when I got to the airport, the immigration officers was like, show me your tailor.
Yeah. Wow.
Shonaji is my tailor.
Yeah. So Shonaji.
Yes.
Your Kiswahili has gotten really good.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, you actually texted me on Swahili.
Yeah,
I was like,
I read better than I can speak it.
Yeah. I know you're going to other questions, but let me tell you the one thing that really pops up in my head. You're talking in one of your visits, and guys, make sure you go to our video. Beauty is Universal, right?
BLAXIT to Africa is the name of the podcast, and Beauty Universal is the name of the channel.
So one time I'm watching your video, and you are talking about where you usually buy your cutlery. So I'm thinking, maybe downtown. And then, guys, she says Karioko. I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, even for a local like me, like, that is way down. Like, you really have,
Kampunji.
Yeah.
Karioko, like, Because I worked in retail for so long as like an owner,
Yes.
and a buyer,
Yes.
it's difficult for me to pay retail.
You're sorry, you say that again. You're doing as a buyer?
As an owner, as a
Wow.
buyer. So I
Yes.
used to own a women's shoe boutique in Washington, D.C. for about 7.5 years.
All right.
It was called Wild Women Wear Red.
Yes.
It was funky, functional footwear for women.
Yeah.
And I was the lead buyer.
All
so,
right.
you know how much things cost from the factory.
Yeah.
And then to have to pay retail, it's tough for me. So when I learn about these places, Kamkunji, Kariakor, I'm like, okay, I can go.
So you know where people buy, and then you know where those people go to buy. That's where you go, right?
Exactly.
So all right. So today we're gonna be talking real estate plus other stuff. She's gonna also be asking me a couple of questions as well around real estate. But just tell me briefly, what do you think about the real estate as it is in Nairobi? Be very blunt,
It's varied. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's varied. I had this friend from the U.S. who was living in Tanzania. And she would say like, I don't like Nairobi because Nairobi is trying to be New York. And I was like, is that really the case?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But now that I'm seeing all these buildings go up and how there's like so much, what is it called? All-inclusive properties. Like this property we're in now, you don't want to leave. Like everything is on the property. Now I'm like, maybe Nairobi is about to be similar to New York. The difference here is that you have newer buildings, newer builds that can accommodate the gyms, the swimming pools, the saunas, the cafes, the daycare, all of this stuff. It's interesting. Like I've never been to the Middle East, but I'm looking at these new builds and I'm thinking, is this what Dubai is like?
But let me ask you, because from your channel, is it a bad thing because I don't think Nairobi is as modern as people are trying to put it, because I've been to China and stuff. It's not that modern as people are trying to.
Okay.
But does that, as an African American who's lived here for a while, does that tick you off because it's trying to be a little bit more modern?
Not me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the main reasons why I'm in Nairobi specifically, because I feel like you get the best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying? Like,
true.
It was definitely the urban green spaces that brought me here from Kampala.
Yes.
And also the proximity to the ocean, because I was missing the ocean as a Cali girl. And also I lived in Zanzibar for a year.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-hour flight to the ocean. And then also, like, I want soft life. I'm not interested in this struggle life. I like having electricity on demand, water, all of these things, Wi-Fi. This is what Nairobi offers. Now, if I'm looking for a deeper ancestral connection, then it would be more obvious for me to go west or to go central, right? Because that's where my roots are. However, I do believe I have ancestral roots in East Africa as well. Yeah. I see myself, like I see my body type. I see myself on the streets, in whether I'm in Rwanda or Uganda or Kenya, Tanzania.
You've been to a couple of places in Africa, but it seems to me like you're now not stuck, like you're now in Nairobi, like you're kind of finding your way around, yeah? What makes Nairobi probably different from the other African city that you've tried? I know because you've been in Zanzibar, Uganda, Cape Town, I think.
Yeah, well, I've been coming to Africa since I was 18.
Wow.
So I've been to quite a few countries, whether for school, for work, internships, or just lifestyle change. What makes Nairobi different from compared to what?
Maybe Kampala, probably. Someone else wants to go to Kampala.
Kampala. I'll just start out by saying, because I know I've seen Kenyans in my comments like, how can you compare us
it could be
to
Kampala or any other
our cross-eyed
country,
our cross-eyed cousin? That's what someone said in my comments. I was like, dang. You know, but what I will say is that my heart is in, a little bit of my heart is in Uganda. I love Uganda. I love Ugandans. At one point, it was voted the friendliest country on the planet.
Wow.
Nairobi is its own place, and it's in flux. It's in transition. As we can see right now, we're in this beautiful, what is this called? Show house. Or show apartment. And then right outside, they're constructing, 6 buildings, 6 more blocks. And you can see that throughout the city. It's a city that is very much in flux. And it's living and it's breathing. One of the things that makes it different from most African capital cities for me is the urban green spaces. As I said, that's really important to me. I don't think y'all know like how good you have it with Karua Forest.
I don't think we know.
You know what I'm saying? The Arboretum, Long. Like there's so much greenery here. Even, I know Kilimani and Kileleshwa residents are complaining about the construction, but even when it's all said and done, you'll still have a place where you will have respite in the city. In Kampala, like after the novelty wore off, it was tough because I wanted to just go to a park. I wanted to get fresh air, and the air quality in Kampala is not great. Before COVID, I was rolling around on bodas with a mask.
Before even the college died. So you are masking way before.
Exactly. So if I wanted to experience a green space, I would go to what's the name of that city? Entebbe. And I would go to their arboretum. But they just overdeveloped Kampala, really. The people are different, obviously. The look of a lot of people are different. Not everybody, but definitely in the central Kenya, the look is different.
The look is different for people in the central.
Typically.
All right.
But then there's people who are Kenyan who grew up along that Busia border that have a similar build. And I think Nairobi is more international.
All right.
You've got Ethiopia, you've got more Habeshas here. You've got more Somalis. You've definitely
Chinese.
You've got more of a little bit of everyone here.
Do you like the fact that people are in their communities? Does that bug you a little bit?
No. We're very polarized in the U.S. We're very, people call it racism, but it's really tribalism.
It is.
At the end of the day, it's really tribalism. So I'm used to it. However, coming from a city like Los Angeles, living in Washington, D.C., I'm used to seeing less homogeneity. I'm used to seeing more diversity. However, at the end of the day, Sunday or the holy day is when you see. I think was it Malcolm X that said Sunday is the most segregated day in the U.S. because everybody goes to their own churches. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Their
own people.
Exactly.
And it's still here in Kenya because people are still tribal also. I mean, it's the same color, but even people in different tribes usually. We'll go to real estate because I know you talked about their expectations of people and reality and other. I don't want to say. Let me say experts.
Okay. Or moneyed immigrants.
Whatever
us,
experts,
immigrants. I'm like, I'll take that.
So what do you think about the real estate in terms of renting out and stuff? I know there are a couple of stuff you've talked, but what do you think about? I feel like some of the expectations people have when they're coming here. So how do you go around that?
So I'm new to the real estate space. You know, before I was just doing these BLAXIT consultations, helping people come here. And then there's a Kenyan influencer, I don't remember his name, and he was speaking to young people, but I took the message too. And he was just like, yes, the economy sucks. Yes, there's all of these things that you're up against as a young person trying to make it. But where you will win is when you meet a need. See what the need is in the market and then supply that need. And I took that message to heart. And I was like, you know what, Toddre, you need to come out of your shell because I'm a bit introverted and supply the need. And the need is that people are looking for housing. They're looking for, who are coming from the global north. And most of my viewers seem to be in the U.S. at the moment. So I was like, okay, let me get into this. And now that I'm into it, like I'm going with people to look at properties. And I'm realizing a lot of folks, their expectations is not where they should be. And it's the fault of some YouTubers that are out there and they're showing like, this is what you get for $250. And it's like, okay, yes, you can, but you need to also see the exterior. You need to look at the area, you know. And so I find that some people are coming here from the U.S. specifically, and they're thinking that they can get a place like this for $300. That's not happening. So, you know, I want people to understand that if you want contemporary, and you want this, you know, moneyed immigrant lifestyle, and you want a walkable neighborhood and amenities, you're going to be paying less than major U.S. cities, but you're still going to be at least at 1,000 USD per month, at least. Right?
Yeah, true.
Now, if you're somebody who's like, I just need someplace to lay my head, I don't care, then you might like a 250, but that's not what the average American or even the average Kenyan American will want to rest their heads.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
True, very true. I usually actually find the middle ground is usually the hardest to find. You know what I mean? When the client says, I want something that's below $1,000. Can you get me around 500, 600? But yet your expectations are actually like 1,000 plus. So we end up looking for this place where you're not going to get it. And someone usually ends up frustrated because it's virtually not there. Like you'd rather either go low or go a little bit high to get
or go old. But see, the thing is, people want contemporary. So I've always been very transparent. And I've shared like how much my place is. It was completed in 1976. Former government housing. And, you know, I pay, depending on the exchange rate, like $70,000 monthly for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And it looks like it was built in 76. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not mad. Like I'm fine with it.
You're good.
But most people coming from the U.S. like, I don't want that.
I want a modern apartment. I'm like, those will cost a lot of money as well. Right? So one of the issues, what I usually tell someone, even if you're gonna come to Nairobi, one of the key things, just come, get a place for a short while. Then look. And take time because it's gonna get time. I usually like the ones like, actually for me, I actually love kind of the old look. It depends. And that's for you for 70,000. That's a bargain, to be really honest.
2-bedroom, 2-bath. Swimming pool. Like out. It works for me. You know what I'm saying? And my friends come. I have a space for them. It's almost like an open floor plan. That works for me, you know. But then in the U.S., my marital home was damn near historic. It was completed in the late 1800s. So I like that type of shit. I like, you know, exposed hardwood and all of that.
I know it because it's when you take your time, and for someone who stayed here for long, you can actually get like that sort of a house. You can usually get a house that you can get on a bargain, but you have to have stayed here for a while.
Right. And the only way that I found that house is because my homegirl was staying upstairs. You know, who's like, you know, a finance exec, C-suite, all of that. And she gave me a soft landing.
Yeah.
And I acclimated to the neighborhood. It's Kilimani.
Yes.
And so I was able to walk to the Arboretum and it was quiet. The other thing that I think is interesting for people that are interested in coming to East Africa, Kenya, Nairobi specifically, is if you need accessibility, if you have accessibility issues. I'm trying to find the right wording. If you use a wheelchair, if you use a wheelchair, you know, I want everybody to feel like you can come here and you will be welcome.
Yes.
But just like you have accessibility issues in your passport country, they will be increased in Nairobi.
All right.
So the key is to find a place that has an elevator, that has the, what do they call it? The side ramps, the side cuts in the sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed that is a challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
Actually finding more, I think more buildings, to be really honest, I think more buildings that you are coming up, buildings actually taking that into account.
Yes.
Even a few churches and stuff. I think that's gradually changing.
Yes.
Because it was, if you know Nairobi, even for the pedestrians, it's a little bit tricky.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
It's tricky.
It's tricky. You've got to get used to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, that sort of ramps, they're coming up. They're not as many, but I think someone has to come here and just see for themselves
and check it out.
Definitely.
And also the older buildings are not accessible. Like I live in a 4-story building. There's no elevator. There's no lift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even for, you know, my mom who was staying with me at a certain point, I was like, okay, how are we going to get her down the stairs? You know, how are we going to get her up the stairs? And right now she lives in an assisted living facility. And I've been thinking about bringing her back with me. And well, she's in Karen.
All right. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, she's currently in Karen. And she had some health complications. So I was like, maybe I'll move her back in with me. But even thinking about accessibility for her, a challenge.
How does that look like? That's very good. How does that look like I have an older parent, so I know what that looks like. Assisted, you know, sort of living with your parents who is much older. How would that look like for an expert who is coming in? Would you recommend, now that you have someone in Karen, how does that really look like? How does it pan out? Do you think it's a good idea? Someone is a little bit older to come here in Nairobi?
I highly recommend it.
Oh, really?
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
You know, we do get, you know, we do get a bad rap for putting our parents in homes, etc. Part of the reason that people do it is expense.
Okay.
Yes. And what I would say is that there are quite a few Generation Xers, expats who are here, who have their parents here.
Oh.
One or both of their parents here.
All right.
And they're making it work. So financially it works.
Yes. All right.
And then also in terms of the amount of space you have.
Okay.
Like right now, we're sitting in a 5-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Or condo.
Yeah.
Like these don't exist in the US. 5 bedrooms?
Oh, really?
The most you will find is 3, and that's hard.
Okay.
You know, so I think because families are larger here, that they accommodate for these families.
Yeah, right.
You know, when I first moved here, I was looking for a 1-bedroom.
Okay.
It was easier for me to find a 2-bedroom than a 1-bedroom.
Yes.
And the 1-bedrooms look more like bachelor housing. Like it looks like they were built for the old ones. Look like they were built for men that would come to the city back in the day, and then on the weekends they would go to the shamba.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the 1-bedrooms weren't really desirable.
Yes.
But I see so many different scenarios where I know one guy that has a condo, and then his mother has a condo just across the hall.
She in Kenya?
In Kenya.
All right.
In Nairobi, because she wants her independence and she can see her her grandbabies. You know, there's another brother I know who has his mom here. They share a space, you know. So there's a lot of different scenarios. And then, you know, you could even buy or rent a compound where you occupy maybe the main house, and then your parent is down in secondary housing.
The servants, we call them servant quarters here.
Okay, SQ.
SQ,
but some compounds actually have multiple houses for like the kids and the, you know, and then you can have like the nurse, the nanny, the housekeeper, and the servants' quarters all on one compound. So it's actually more economically feasible for you to have your aging parent here, and you can still collect, they can still collect their U.S. pension. The medical benefits don't apply here, but their U.S. pension, their Social Security, all of that.
Yeah, I was wondering why, now that you say that, that probably makes a lot of sense. I was wondering why someone, that would make a lot of sense, yeah? Would the weather, is the weather something of a factor because of someone is aging, the sun weather and stuff?
That's a good point. The weather's better here. I mean, when you think about the United States or you think about Europe, Northern Europe, we got a few parts of the country that are warm year round. The rest is like you're dealing with 4 seasons. You know what I mean? So, you know, Kenya's temperature is very temperate. It's very mild in comparison. So if you got a parent that is dealing with arthritis, you know, they'd rather be here than in the Northeast, Michigan, Boston, you know, South Dakota, whatever it is.
I'll start thinking about the older parents. So you've got an older parent, please come to NAiROBi.
Yes.
I've never actually looked at it, even in terms of finances, it makes a lot of sense.
It's so much better. And to be honest, I was trying to convince my dad and his partner to come to the coast. Because they're in their 70s. And I was like, okay, let's get a family compound at the coast. Y'all can live out the rest of y'all days. I even drew a schematic, like, because he likes working out, have a gym, we can have an art studio for you, all of this. They was like, it's too slow.
It's too slow.
They were like, if anything, we'd rather be in NAiROBi. So I was talking to him about, well, would you think about getting a condo in NAiROBi? Because they still like to go to the theater. They like to go out to eat. They like all of this stuff. But I think for them, the issue is coming back and forth. From you know, the U.S. to NAiROBi, the flight is too long. But ultimately, I think I would like to have them here just so I can manage the people that's going to be managing them. You know what I mean?
And the labor would be much cheaper, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's much cheaper. So, you know, they have options because fortunately they prepared for this phase of their life. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when they get 80. You know what I mean?
I'm going to start looking for you 80 and 90-year-olds Black African Americans. Would you think for that age set, outside, because NAiROBi, people think that NAiROBi is a big whatever, right? There's the Kilimani, the Kilimanjaro, but there are a couple of places just on the outskirts. Karen is one of them. Actually, I think Karen is very expensive, but Kiambu is very nice as well. Very green.
Kiambu.
Would you think that sort of place, or is it very not very modern for them? What do you think?
For them, they would prefer like maybe Gigiri or a Lavington. You know, honestly, for these people working in the global north that have prepared for retirement, they can afford it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know how they're structured.
They can afford it.
They can afford it, right?
They can afford it. It just depends on the lifestyle. You know what I mean? What are you looking for? Me personally, I'm ready to like slow down. They feel alive when they're in the mix.
They want somewhere they can go out.
You know, we want to go out to eat. We want to go to the theater. We want to go to the orchestra, symphony. You know, that's what they want. So that's NAiROBi.
What are the sort of fun stuff that you do? Like, and I don't want to talk. The nightlife, we know it's there. I mean, that's not even. But there are other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Apart from the nightlife, what are the other things that you do? Because I've seen it. fashion shows and stuff.
I
see. Yeah.
Well, yesterday I went to the Museum of Illusions. Yes, that
And
was so fun. I
right.
like that. You know, I like going out to eat. There's lots of different options in terms of cuisine and even levels, you know. What else do I like? There's lots of lounges here.
Yeah.
You know, we went to, me and a girlfriend, we went to see like this planetary alignment. There's like a traveling planetarium in Nairobi. It was fun.
What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. So right now, all of the planets are in our solar system are in alignment.
Okay.
And so there was a community. What is that community out there near Village Market?
Guys, I've never heard of it. Like you said, I've never heard of it.
So we went, and you know, it was nighttime, and we got to look at the different planets in our solar system, and it was cool.
All right.
It was nice. We have a skating rink in Nairobi, which I grew up skating, so that's been fun. We have bowling alleys here. I'm a terrible bowler, but that exists.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Toddre. Would you ever consider? I know where you're staying, would you ever consider buying a shamba or buying an apartment if you had the choice? What do you?
Yeah.
And where would that be?
Okay. So now I'm considering purchasing property in the city, someplace quiet.
Okay.
You know about Tattoo City.
I know that's where you're going.
I really like Tattoo City. Like I think, you know, I spent my high school years in the suburbs, and I kind of like that at this point in my lifetime, right? There was a point in my life where I was living in the suburbs briefly, and I was spending all my time going back to the city, you know, to get my city fix, to go out with my friends, etc. But now, you know, at 51, am I in clubs and bars like that? Not at all. And I also love the ocean, so like a quiet beach life suits me.
I should take you to Meru, my home place. Have you been ever to outside Nairobi, a place like Meru, Nanyuki?
I do. I want
Nanyuki.
To do more. You like Nanyuki?
I love Nanyuki.
I feel like I need to go to Nanyuki with someone who knows it.
Yeah.
Because it's beautiful.
Yes.
And by the way, like there's so much more outside of Nairobi and the coast.
Yes.
So this year I want to spend more time exploring Kenya outside of Nairobi and the coast, because y'all take stuff for granted. Honestly, I was in this little village just outside of Meru town. Gorgeous.
I'm going to say, you know, Meru, beach town. I'm a Meru, baby. You know?
Are you?
Yeah, I'm a Meru, beach town.
I don't remember the name of the place. She just kept saying Meru, Meru, but it was outside of the town, and we were in a village, and I kind of got lost and just found like this waterfall.
Yes,
and it was
Mount Kenya. You're in the Mount Kenya forest, because Meru is literally on the Mount Kenya forest.
I don't think I was that close to the
Mount Kenya.
Okay, it was there.
Yes.
But I was before you actually get to Mount Kenya.
It's called Kiberesia, Biskerua, one of those places.
It was nice.
It was really nice.
It was nice. Then we drove around and we saw like 3 different waterfalls in one day.
Yeah.
Come on. Like Ngare Dare.
Ngare Dare.
Yes, Ndari Ndari. Yeah, I listen. That blue water.
Yeah.
It's cold as hell, but
we literally are like 5 kilometers from Ngare Ndare, like maybe 10 kilometers or so. Yeah, so that's where my ancestral. It's very fine in Kenya. So as when you're coming to Nairobi, you're coming to make our money, so you can go back and build there. For most people, they want to go and build there, not really stay in Nairobi. Maybe Nairobi, get an apartment, something you can as an investment. But I think there's a lot of places people like you should actually explore. I love Nanyuki. I love Nanyuki. That's why I would really like to build with you. Because it's very quiet. It's got this old British. I don't know if people get because I said British. Yeah, it's got this. It's an old British town, so it can have those old. I don't know, but I really love it. Anyway,
so funny story. Yes. I was looking for somebody to go with me to Nanyuki, and I don't have a car.
Yes.
So ultimately, I ended up taking myself. and I got on a matatu.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious. So, the cool thing about living in a country where most people don't have private transportation is that you can get anywhere via matatu.
Yes, public transport.
Exactly. So I was like in these little WhatsApp groups where it was like ride share and and I was like, this is just too much. There were some guys in the group that just wanted to get close to you, like, oh, I'm going, like, come ride with me for 2 hours. I was like, no, you know. So I did a matatu, and I stayed in town. But I didn't realize the real beauty is further out. And that's where I got to go to Ngari. And we went on a nice hike with a ranger. That is beautiful. It's gorgeous up there. So are you talking the town that you like or outside the town?
Actually, it's slightly on the outskirts of the town.
Okay.
I like the vibe around it. I like the forest. I like the greenery. I like the when you wake up and see Mount Kenya from. It's really so beautiful.
It's beautiful. And then there's a good restaurant in town.
Is that the place where people eat the fish in the whatever?
I don't think I went to that one.
I forgot the place. What is it called? Yeah, there are a couple of course, Nanyuki is a touristy place. So there are a couple of hotels you can go and check them out. It's really nice. But it's got one of the best views, probably apart from Naivasha. You've been to Naivasha as well? What do you like Naivasha?
I do like Naivasha. You know, I went on a day trip. We had some fresh fish, fried fish. I mean,
that was amazing. You're looking for a house for someone, and you're saying how the expectations are really out of hand.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Did you get the house for your friend?
No, I didn't. But I think it was good for her to just scope the area, to just see what the real estate is like in Nairobi. And so, you know, I charge for this service. So if you want to just take a look first, a lot of people will do an exploratory trip where they'll come and they'll check out Kenya and then they'll go back home and make their plans. So I think it was really good for her because she got to see new builds, old builds. Okay, some people want furnished. And you get to see the cost differential in furnished and unfurnished. And, you know, the vibe in Nairobi, how people move the different neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? It was cool.
I like that because that's what I usually advise someone. I have a couple of clients who are actually asking about real estate, the rent to rent. And it's very difficult to explain someone who's never been to Africa. So we have these expectations.
That part. Part.
I'm like, I can show you pictures, but still you won't get it.
And it's interesting, right? Because it's like influencers are not showing the middle ground. They're either trying to combat the poverty Africa narrative and only showing you the lux, the penthouses, the this, the that. Or they're showing you the poverty porn. Right? So then there's the middle. You know, and most of us exist in the middle. And by the way, I think it's a good personal skill to be able to go back and forth between both. You see how I could go from Gigiri to Kamkunji?
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's nice to have. And I think in, you know, coming here, you need to have an adventurous spirit as well. Otherwise, you will stay stuck in your bubble. So I like that at least people like you and others are like, Toddre, get out of your bubble. There's other places for you to see.
This is a reality. Do you think Kenya has a certain type of person you can be? Because that's what I've actually... There's another lady I saw did that video. She came to Kenya and she was like, nah. Nairobi is not, I don't know what people are seeing. This place is not, it has, most of the businesses are Asians and stuff. Do you think Nairobi has a type?
Okay. That's interesting. I think that's really loaded. Because you've got a lot of Africans in the diaspora that are looking for a home, like they're looking for a place in which they will not be othered, discriminated against, etc. And so they think that by coming to Africa, you're coming to a real live Wakanda. And that's just not the case. You know what I mean? You're more than likely, if you purchase, you'll be purchasing from a developer who is not indigenous to Kenya. When you go out to eat at a certain level restaurant or you go to a hotel, more than likely the hotel owner, the restaurateur may not be indigenous to Kenya or Africa for that reason.
Yeah.
And so that's a reality that a lot of people need to accept.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually had this conversation with some women in my book club. And, you know, am I the only American? I think I'm maybe one of two Americans in this book club. And just asking, like, why aren't we seeing more Kenyans in the hotel business as restaurateurs, as hoteliers? And the answer was basically, we felt that these industries were not for us. At least in the past, they were not for us. And so now we're starting to become more involved in those industries. And I think that as African Americans, probably as Black South Africans, we understand that.
Yeah. I usually don't, sometimes hey, I'm a typical African Kenyan, yeah? I don't understand why is the issue, because I usually tell people, yes, even if they're indigenous, not indigenous, non-indigenous owned, some of these people, they actually provide jobs. Because we usually tend to just see the owners. We don't see these people actually employ other Africans. And for me, sometimes you've been to Nairobi, you know at the ground what it's really up. We have a lot of people unemployed.
Right.
And some of these people, investors, whether they are white, South African, British, Chinese, they do actually offer jobs.
Okay.
Does that make it okay with you, or now that you stay here in Kenya for a while? Does that bother you?
Does it bother me? Employment is good. However, at what rate are we employing people?
All right.
Are we taking advantage of people in our employment? And also, are the opportunities there for indigenous Kenyans to break into these industries? That would be my question. Some of the issue has to do with romanticizing. You know, we're romanticizing this Wakanda. And it's fictional. As of yet, it does not exist. And I think another issue is probably privilege and entitlement that is happening. So are we experiencing a second colonization? That is a question that people are talking about. Or is it just, you know, development? I think that there's both happening.
Yes. I also think so. There's a little bit of, other than Kenyans who are coming in, but I also think there's also a part of this also just development. Because still Kenya is the biggest tribe is still as Kenyans, Black Kenyans, you know what I mean? So I don't think this ever gets to a point where you feel like we've been marginalized in our own country.
In your own country.
Yeah, but we do have to admit, even the international actually made what Nairobi is doing, to be honest. They're actually upping the game. If a better restaurant comes, someone opens a restaurant from Syria, from America, even us as Kenyans, we have to up our game, you know what I mean? So that the standards are we actually trying to put our standards up, because some of these apartments are actually Kenyan, you know what I mean? So I think there's someone has to look at it from those eyes, not just like, you know, most of these Kenyan companies are, you know, owned by an indigenous. There's of course a little bit of
there's a little, but it's not most. I wouldn't say it's most.
Yeah, it's not most,
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's most. At the end of the day, for me, I know that I like supporting local businesses, Kenyan-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. When I'm in the States, it's important for me to support small businesses, even here. In the U.S., minority-owned businesses, because as a small business owner and someone who used to have a brick and mortar store, I know how far a sale can go and trickle through a community versus me spending my money with a multinational conglomerate and very little of it staying in the country, very little of it staying in the community and benefiting me, because if the taxes are paid where I live, I get better services.
True, very
well,
true.
lastly, what I will say to people who are interested in moving outside of your passport country, particularly to Nairobi, Kenya, you need to come with new eyes. You cannot come with the same set of eyes that you use to see your world in a place that is familiar. Here you will see and experience new things. Your senses will just be firing. And to view it through old eyes, it's not going to work for you.
Please go subscribe to our channel, She Usually Has. I actually think you're one of the top best content about Nairobi as an African American or as an expert, because you put it as it is. And I think it's very authentic. You don't, try to sell. The guys are trying to sell. You know what I'm talking about. Oversell. You put it as it is, and I really love the authenticity of the channel.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Right.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. Until next time.